A Ghostly Haunting in Grand Haven, Chapters 7 and 8. We watched for what seemed like hours, but in reality, it was only about a minute. On the screen before us, nothing had changed. The ghostly image remained, although it was unclear whether it was a man or a woman. It was definitely a human shape, but it wasn't clear enough to tell anything more. I couldn't make out any facial or body features other than arms, legs, a torso, and a head. Then we saw another movement. Dad came into the picture. He was moving very slowly, cautiously toward the entity floating in the middle of the living room. It was obvious that he had spotted the thing on the computer screen and was approaching it. I shot a nervous glance around the room, wondering if this entity, whatever it was watching us at this very moment. I saw nothing except the furnishings, the walls, the ceiling, the blowing snow whipping outside the window. The wind howled and it gave me a lonely, desolate feeling. I didn't like the fact that we were all alone in the house. Sure, Dad was somewhere, but we didn't know where. For the time being, it was just Angela and me. While we watched the screen, we saw my dad cautiously approach the misty white figure. Slowly, he reached out to the apparition, waving his hands back and forth in a sweeping motion. From what we could see on the computer screen, it looked as if his hand was moving right through the entity. We continued to watch, fascinated by the scene on the screen in front of us. Dad waved his arms back and forth a few more times, but they went right through the ghost, as easy as a hand slicing through smoke. "This is unbelievable," Angela said quietly. Then the ghost began to shimmer. It drifted back a couple of feet and then moved off to the left of the screen. Dad stood motionless for a moment, and then he began to follow it. His steps were cautious and wary, and his eyes never left it. The ghost vanished to the left of the screen, leaving the living room. Dad followed, and he too vanished from the screen. Then we were staring at nothing but the screen, showing the living room interior. "Where did they go?" I asked. Angela shrugged. "Over there somewhere," she replied, pointing to the hall that led to the front door. "The ghost went down the hallway, and your dad followed it." "Let's go that way then," I said. "Are you nuts?" Angela asked. "Come on, Angela," I said. "We just came that way anyway. We were just outside and walked down the hall to get here. Nothing happened to us. Besides, we've got to find out where Dad is." Without another word, we wound around the large machine, through the living room, and into the hall. Like Dad had done, we took slow, cautious steps. I kept turning my head from side to side, expecting at any moment to see some sort of haunting apparition, some sort of ghost staring back at me. I saw nothing. We reached the foyer. We'd left the front door open and snow had blown in, and there was a dusty covering of white near the door. I grabbed the knob and pushed the door closed. "So," Angela said, "where did they go?" "They had to come this way," I replied. "We saw them on the computer screen." "But they're not here," Angela said. "If they came this way, they had to leave through the front door. You and I just came through here a few minutes ago, and we didn't see anything." I took a step forward and opened the front door. The snowstorm had grown to monstrous proportions, like a white witch who screamed and shrieked and raged. Large flakes of snow billowed and swirled in whirling hurricane patterns. Angela pointed to the porch. "See," she said, "those are our tracks right there. There aren't any more tracks. If your dad came this way, he would have made tracks in the snow." I closed the front door and Angela and I looked around the foyer. "This is crazy," I said. "Where did Dad go?" The answer, as we were about to find out, was more shocking than we could have ever imagined. Chapter 8. I scratched my head. "This doesn't make any sense," I said. "My dad couldn't just vanish into thin air." "Maybe he's still in the house somewhere," Angela said. "Dad?" I called out again. "Dad, can you hear me?" There was no answer. The only sound we heard was the crazed white witch howling outside, casting her ferocious wintry spell. "He's got to be here, somewhere inside the house," I said. "Come on, let's find him." Cautiously, Angela and I left the foyer, walked through the hallway, and turned left into the kitchen. The light was on, and we could see our reflections in the large windows that faced the lake. It had grown dark outside, so we couldn't see anything beyond the glass, not even the snow. "I'm not so sure this is a good idea," Angela said. I noticed that she was walking closely, afraid to get too far away. She was scared, and I couldn't blame her. Something really strange was going on, and until we found out what happened to Dad, I was not going to relax. Neither was Angela. "We'll be fine," I said. "Dad has to be around here somewhere." Yeah, Angela replied, but you're forgetting one thing. If your dad is around here, that ghost is too. This was something that had been rattling around in the back of my mind, but I didn't want to think about it. On the computer screen, the ghost had simply appeared from nowhere. It was terrifying to think that at any moment it could materialize in front of us. Absently, I walked over to the counter and opened up a drawer. Inside, I found a bunch of utensils, including knives, forks, and spoons. I picked up one of the knives, thinking I could use it as a weapon. And then I returned it to the drawer. After all, what good is a knife going to do against a ghost? We had watched Dad's hands go right through the white apparition in the living room. A knife would have the same effect, making it worthless. And besides, something told me that if the ghost wanted to harm us, he was going to do it, whether we liked it or not. There was nothing we would be able to do about it. I opened another drawer. It was filled with odds and ends and all sorts of things. Ah, a junk drawer, I thought. We have one of these at our house. A drawer in the kitchen that's filled with all kinds of things that don't have any particular home. Everybody has a junk drawer in their house. I pawed through some of the items and found a flashlight about the size of the palm of my hand. I clicked it on and a dull splotch of light appeared on the wall. Thinking that it might come in handy, I held it up and turned to Angela. Look what I stopped speaking. Angela was gone. Angela, I said, where did you go? I'm here in the foyer, she called back, her voice filled with urgency and surprise. Come here quick. You're not going to believe what I found in the closet.